Who is on my Mount Rushmore of movie presidents? Fictional presidents, that would be. Fictional presidents. We're not talking about real life presidents. Bad MF35 on TikTok asked me to do this, and I would say thank you, Bad MF, but no, I'm not grateful for this because this question has taken over my life for the past 3 days, and that's because I have to make everything complicated. It's a sickness I have. So the first thing I had to answer was, is this a list of fictional presidents who I think would make good real life presidents? Because if that's the case, that'd be tough. I mean, in real life, in the real world, the United States of America has had like 1.5 good presidents. Presidents, regardless of party, they're absolute monsters and sickos. They're just forces of pure malevolence. But surely there's good presidents in movies, right? Like there have to be good movie presidents. Well, actually, this turned out to be harder than I thought it would be, looking upon the movies and asking who would make a good real life president. Most of the presidents from movies that I like, they're bad. That's what makes them interesting. So I thought maybe I can expand this to television, because if I could do that, then I could include President Laura Roslin, Mary McDonnell from Battlestar Galactica. I mean, she was a good president. For one thing, she didn't want to be the president. She was the highest ranking official left when the Cylons annihilated the whole government. That alone makes her more worthy than most presidents who are super deranged people, because that's the only reason you would seek the office. But she didn't even want to be here, man. She was just left holding the bag. She was the Secretary of Education. And fun fact, by the way, the current Secretary of Education is Linda McMahon from wrestling. So that's fun. But President Roslin, she did a lot of good things. Like, she was good for labor. She recognized Chief Galen Tyrrell, his labor union. And she was really cozy with the military. That's not a good look, but there's only so many people left in this universe. So you kind of understand where she's coming from. But the problem is, I'm a movie guy, not a TV guy. Also, she's not the president of the United States. She's the president of the 12 colonies of Kobol. So I scratched her off the list. I had to return to square one. So I looked at Mount Rushmore itself. We all know what people mean when they say who's on your Mount Rushmore, like who's on your NBA Mount Rushmore, who's on your director Mount Rushmore. They're saying who are your 4 top whatevers. But I thought about Mount Rushmore itself and I realized I don't actually know how they chose the 4 presidents that they chose. Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, that's an odd group of men. And it's definitely not, these are our top 4 presidents. I think my whole life I assumed that the reason Teddy Roosevelt was on that was on there is because he was the president when they built the thing. Not so. Mount Rushmore was built in the 30s. These 4 guys were chosen because there was basically broad bipartisan consensus on these 4. And supposedly they are supposed to represent the nation's foundation, that'd be Washington, expansion, Jefferson, development, Teddy Roosevelt, and preservation, Lincoln. So okay, whatever you say. But since of those 4 guys, only one is actually a good president, that made me realize I can just pick presidents from movies who I don't think are good presidents. I'll just pick one good movie president. The rest can just be guys I enjoy watching on the screen. So here we go. My good movie president. It's the most obvious answer in the world, but I have to go with Bill Pullman as President Thomas J. Whitmore from Roland Emmerich's Independence Day. To a certain generation of person, I just think if you say movie president, Bill Pullman from Independence Day is what comes to mind. Roland Emmerich, he knew what he was doing. He came over from Germany. He knew exactly what Americans wanted to see in a president. They wanted a handsome fighter pilot who's not going to take any of your alien shit. He's going to get his ass up there in the sky and shoot at the aliens himself. There's fewer movies that I've seen more times than Independence Day. It's like one of the movies I've seen the most, and yet I had to look up his actual name. And so I wondered, is that a demerit for this individual president because I can't remember his name? No, that's actually to his credit, because when I think of Bill Pullman in Independence Day, the only thing I think is Mr. President, and I salute him. So it doesn't matter what his name is. He's just Mr. President. The only other guy I think who comes close to this is Harrison Ford in Air Force One. I disqualified him though, because as much as I like that movie and I think he's great in that movie, we don't see him do enough presidenting in Air Force One. And in Independence Day, we get to see President Whitmore give his immortal speech where he becomes the unquestioned leader of the free world. Also, fun fact, President Whitmore was married to Laura Roslin, the president from Battlestar Galactica. When I was a kid, I did wonder, is it wise for the president of the United States to go up in a fighter jet himself to fight the aliens. I mean, Randy Quaid, he's a drunk and a crank, and all he knows how to do is fly a crop duster, but he can get in a fighter jet and go up there and fight them. Surely there's lots of guys who can go up there and point the thing at the alien and press the shoot button, but we're not exactly stacked with qualified people to be president down here on the ground. But then I realized, thinking about it as I formulated this list, Whitmore, Mr. President, he's already done his job. He's given his rousing speech. His name is written in the history books. And if he dies up there battling the aliens, his legend will only grow. There's a complication, though. The vice president in this movie is dead. So if Bill Pullman died up in the sky battling the aliens, who would take over? In the presidential line of succession, after the vice president, it's the Speaker of the House, then the Senate pro tempore, then the Secretary of State, then the Treasury Secretary. And from what I can tell, all of these people are dead in the world of Independence Day. But next up in line is the Secretary of Defense, and that would be the character played by James Rebhorn, his villainous Albert Nimzicki. Now, President Whitmore, of course, fires Secretary Nimzicki, and he says, the only mistake I made was hiring a weasel fuck like you in the first place. You're fired. But a weasel like Rebhorn, he's going to make a power play if the president dies up there in the sky. That's going to result in a showdown with the military with Robert Loggia. It's going to be really messy. This really is something that Bill Pullman should have considered before he decided to go up there and fight the aliens, but he survived, so it's immaterial. So that's our good president. Now let's go to the guys who are not so good at being president, but I think they're a lot of fun to watch. We have the man who is President Whitmore's antithesis, and it's the character from the other alien invasion movie from 1996. It's President James Dale, played by Jack Nicholson in Tim Burton's Mars Attacks. And Jack Nicholson is so wonderful in this role, so funny, so self-important. Never better than when he gives just his incredible monologue, super self-serious monologue to the Martians, asking, think about what we can create together, Earth Mars. And as he's doing this, he's straightening his tie and putting on his jacket. He steps over a human carcass, and then the aliens just probe him to death. I love this because this is what presidents would actually do if they were confronted with attacking aliens. The only tool in their arsenal is to give a poetic soliloquy, and it would not work, but they would be very pleased while they were doing it. And Jack Nicholson is just so funny when he does it. So next, another obvious choice, another very funny president. We have President Merkin Muffley from Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, played by Peter Sellers. This movie might be the greatest comedy ever made. Honestly, it might be the greatest movie ever made. And when I think of this president, when I think of President Muffley, hello, Dimitri, I am a little worried that if given power, if I were the president, and if I learned that one of my generals went rogue, launched nuclear weapons at the Soviet Union, this is how I would react. I would get on the phone with the Soviet premier and I'd be like, okay, look. Ooh, I'm so sorry, but we accidentally launched nuclear weapons at your country. We're going to destroy half your people. Okay, don't yell at me, okay? And then we'd get into a 16-hour married couple fight where I would try to turn it around on him. Actually, it's very cruel of you. You're doing violence to me by making it feel like it's my fault and making me feel like the bad guy. I'm actually a victim too, if you think about it. I'm not saying that's what I am right now. I'm saying that's what I would be with power. Don't give me power. That's what I'm saying. Finally, we have another president from movies that I love, who is not a good president, but I think he is a realistic president. I'm talking about Donald Pleasance from John Carpenter's Escape from New York. He plays President John Harker. He is captured, kidnapped, held hostage in New York, in the prison island of New York, and the movie hinges on Snake Plissken, Kurt Russell, having to go in and rescue the president from New York. He has to escape from New York. Now, I love Pleasance just because I love Pleasance as an actor. He's just one of my favorites. And his line reading from this movie where he shoots Isaac Hayes' character, the Duke, it's one of those line readings that for whatever reason is just burnt into my brain. He goes, "Yeah, the Duke! Yeah, the Duke! Yeah, the Duke!" But after all of that, after Snake saves his life, gets him back to safety and civilization, the president asks Snake, what can I do to thank you, Mr. Plissken? And Snake, Kurt Russell, is I just want a moment of your time. And here Pleasance is so wonderful. Such a great understated actor here. He does such a good job of playing a shitty politician who is acting like he's being very gracious and giving Snake the time of day to listen to him, while he's really just dismissively shooing him away so he can get his makeup on, go on the TV and give his stupid speech. And I think, unfortunately, this is what most presidents are actually like. They have one skill, and it's kind of being good with people while shooing them away so they can go do the selfish shit they want to do. And so that is what we have now. My Mount Rushmore. We have Thomas J. Whitmore, James Dale, Merkin Muffley, and John Harker. Like the real Mount Rushmore, it's very male and very white. Thanks, BadMF35, for the prompt. I want to know who's on your Mount Rushmore of movie presidents.